morning and happy Sunday. Today I'm going to be making one of our children's favorite recipes, which is my banana bread. It is an easy one bowl recipe which is dairy-free and refined sugar-free. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 350 degrees, and while that is heating up, we're going to go ahead and start mixing all of our ingredients. The next thing I do is I take my loaf pan and I'm going to line that with parchment paper. It's just easier for cleanup, and it's easier to remove it out of the pan, and I'll show you that when we get to that point. This is a 9.5 by 5.5 loaf pan, and then I like to use the kitchen baking sheets, the parchment paper. And what I do is that if you've ever worked with parchment paper, you know how hard it is to line something and get it to stay in place so you can pour your stuff in there. So a neat trick that I learned off of YouTube was to wet your parchment paper thoroughly. And you're going to wring it out really good. And then it's much easier to work with, and it stays in place when you try to line your items. And it won't affect the baking or the outcome of your bread. So as you can see, that goes in there a lot nicer. So we are going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to just straighten it out here. Okay, let's set that to the side, and what we'll be using today is I use King Arthur's bread flour. I find it makes the best bread. So we have 2.5 cups of King Arthur's bread flour. I have 3.5 teaspoons of baking powder. I have 1 teaspoon of salt. I like to use Celtic salt. I have 3 tablespoons of organic coconut oil, or you can use avocado oil, sunflower oil, something that has a real light taste to it. We're going to dump in 1 large egg, 1/3 cup almond milk. I use the unsweetened flavor. You could use sweetened, I suppose, if you had that on hand, but that's what I use. And we're going to do 1 cup of firmly packed coconut sugar. Okay, so as you can see, this is already easy. You're just dumping everything into a bowl. Then the next thing I like to do is mash up my bananas. So you're going to want bananas that are really, really ripe. For me, the blacker the better, because they have the most sugar content in them, the darker they get. So I'm just going to take those off there, and we're just going to put the bananas on a plate. I'm going to give them a quick mash. And I tend to like to use organic bananas, but I'm sure you could use whichever bananas that you choose to use. And again, as you see, once you measure out your ingredients, this is a really quick recipe, and makes it nice to use so it doesn't take all day to make. Okay, then I'm just going to mash up the bananas. And I use, it depends on how many bananas I have on hand. If I have 5 that have gone bad, I'll put all 5 of them in there. But usually 4 to 5 really ripe bananas. Just get them mished up good. Then I'm going to put these right in the bowl with everything else. Then what you're going to want to do, you're going to use a electric mixer, either hand or freestanding, like your KitchenAid. Oh, excuse me, I apologize. First thing we're going to do is mix it up. We're just going to kind of get everything incorporated. Give it a good mix, and just don't want to over mix it too much. Okay, get that off the spoon there. And then I'm going to grab my hand mixer, and you're going to beat this for 30 seconds. Okay, so here we go. Guess I need to turn the power on. Sorry about that. Okay, when that's all mixed, I'm just going to take the beaters out. And I'm just going to try to get all of the product off of there so you don't leave too much behind. I'm a little bit pedantic about this. I like to get as much of it in there as I can. You may just choose just to rinse your beaters and be done once it's done. Okay? So there I have all that. Then what you're going to do is I'm just going to give it a good scrape really quick and make sure that everything incorporated on the bottom. And then you're going to pour it into your pan. It is that easy. One dump and pour. Then what we're going to do, we're going to place it in the oven again at 350 degrees. You're going to start baking it for 50 minutes. When the 50 minutes is up, you're going to take a toothpick and you're going to check for doneness. I like to leave ours a little bit gooey on the doughier side, just because that's the way we prefer baked goods is a little doughier. So once the 50 minutes is up, if you find it's not to the consistency that you would like it, then you can go ahead and bake it longer. You're going to do it in 5-minute increments and then take it out and check it again. Once the bread is done, you're going to take it out of the oven immediately when it's done, when the timer goes off. I let it cool for a couple minutes on a board, and then you're just going to lift it out of the pan with the parchment paper. You're going to place it to cool, and then I store mine in the refrigerator. So I'll be back as soon as our bread is done. Okay, the timer has gone off on the oven. The bread is done, and I've taken it out of the oven. This particular loaf I cooked for between 50 and 55 minutes. Once you take it out of the oven, you're going to want to lift it out of the pan right away because we don't want it to continue cooking. I then peel down the sides of the paper so it'll help it cool a little bit faster. Once you've done munching on it for the day, I just wrap it right back up in the paper and I place it in a Ziploc bag and it goes in the refrigerator. Now this will last for up to 2 weeks in your refrigerator, although I cannot imagine it lasting a couple of days. It is a really good recipe. So I hope you enjoy it and I hope you give it a try. If you do, please let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me and have a great day.